Hey everyone, welcome back to Smart Contract Labs. In today's lab, we are going to work on supply chain system. So, what is supply chain system? A supply chain system refers to a interconnected network of organizations or resources, activities, and processes that involved in the production, distribution, and delivery of goods and services to users. So we see that how we can design this smart contract tracking system in Solidity language, where we can track the item location and uh, we can track the location of the item and we can get the information of the item. Anyone can get that information. So there are different functions that I have mentioned here that I can think of we can have in this supply chain tracking smart contract. So first one is your create item. um, uh, First, owner creates item and supplies some information related to the item like name, ID, and the brand, maybe a brand, and then the location. All this information are supplied, will be supplied by the owner. Next, we have a ship item. So ship item is a function that is used by the owner or the manufacturer, one and the same thing, can ship the item from one location to another location and also update its information. Next, we have a deliver item. So deliver item function delivers the item to the customer and also updates the status and location of the product, right? Now, last function is get item status. So anyone can query about the item by using its ID to track its location, whether that item is delivered or not, and what is the current status. So these are the few functionality that we are gonna provide in this smart contract. I hope you all understand today's task. So these are the four function we will implement using Solidity language. So let's open Remix ID for that. So I have already opened in this tab, that is Remix IDE. Now we do the same, just go to the contract, right? And then just go to the smart contract lab and here just create a new file. So I'm creating a new file as supply chain. So this is my new ID, right? Now, so first two information that we usually provide while doing the coding Solidity. First one is your XPDX license identifier. So this is how you can write it, or you can also copy it from some other file. Identifier, right? And next, this is the license we are using in this file, that is GPL 3.0, right? Next, we need to specify the Solidity compiler version by using this pragma keyword, right? Pragma Solidity, and we have a caret sign here. So latest version is 0.8.24, like this, right? It is done. Next, create a contract. For that, we have a contract keyword. The name of the contract is supply chain, right? And this is the scope of this contract. Now, let's think about the variables. So what are the tasks we do usually when we declare a contract? That first we declare variables, then we declare modifiers and the condition that we need for this contract, and then we initialize, or we deploy, or we create constructor for initializing these state variables, and then we will work on the function one by one, right? So first, just think about the variables that you want. So first variable, obviously address of our owner who deploy this contract, right? And then we also need the item count, the count of the items, and then And we next we need the item details, and items having the different attributes like the name of the item. We can have an item ID, then the manufacturer address and status and so on, right? Now let's start one by one. First we declare the address, so I make this variable as public address, and then I declare integer type of variable, right, and make it this variable as public for item count to count the number of items we have in this system. Right now, the next is your item, because I told you whenever we have a variable having different attributes, so we can use a struct for declaring those type of variables. So the struct item, and now we have different attributes of it. First one is your name, right? Second one is your item ID, item ID. Next one is the address of the manufacturer who manufactured this item, manufacturer, and then item status. Now for item status, like I told you, for item status, we have the enumerator. So let's declare the item status here, right? So for that, we have enumerator, and for giving the enumerator, the name of the enumerator is take as item status, and we have three status. First one is created for the item, second one is shipped, and third one is delivered, like this. Right, it is done now, and now you can make this data type as item status, that is your enumerator. Right, so this is done, right? Next we have a location. So here, instead of using the GPS API or some other functionality, we are just making it as a string type variable, and we can enter the location as city wise or state wise. It depends on you, right? So I'm taking, for the sake of simplicity, I'm taking this variable as string type, right? This is done, right? So these are the following attributes that belongs to this item, right? Next, so these are the following variables we need. Next, we need a mapping for storing the item details um, in the form in the form of key value pair by using the ID. So here the key refers to the ID of the item, and it store all the details item like this. So I make this mapping as public, and here, right? So you have two options. Either you can use this mapping, or you can use array for storing. You can make the object of array of this item, and you can store them as array. But I prefer using mapping because it's a easier one. You can store the values like key value pair as key values pairs, right? Next part is we have a constructor to initialize different variables, right? Now this is the constructor. So first variable should be the owner one, that should be equal to message.sender. That is your global variable that store the address of the person who deploys this contract, right? And so first we are initializing owner as a message.sender and item count as 0. Right, at the starting we don't have any item, right? And rest of the variables are we will do in function definition. Right, next, so this is done. This is the initialization step when we write a smart contract, right? First we declare variables, and then we define the item, and then we use the mapping for storing certain information, and for initialization we have constructor. Now, let's talk about the first function. So first function is to create an item, and here we will pass name as a parameter, right? And the contract owner can create it. So for that, we need a modifier, right? So just create a modifier here. So modifier should be only 1 second. Yes, modifier only owner, sorry. Right? So this is a modifier. Now we use the same statement, that is your required statement. So message dot sender, if the message dot sender equal to owner, then it's fine, right? The owner is calling that function. Otherwise, you have to display the error message that only contract owner can call this function, and it is done. And we always terminate the modifier with the underscore symbol and terminate it by semicolon, right? It's done now. Let's work on the first function, that is your create item function. So for function create item, right? And we will pass a string variable here. And for passing a string variable as a parameter, we always use the memory keyword along with the string data type, right? And then we will pass name, right? Next, this should be a public function and it only be executed by owner, right? So the owner is creating an item. It's done. Now for creating an item, first we just need to use this mapping. The name of the mapping is items, right? And under this square bracket, we specify the key. So here I'm taking the key as item count, that is initial value is 0. So this is the ID, right? Item count is ID here. And next we just use this struct, that is your item. So item, and just pass all the values. So first parameter should be your name. Second, your ID. ID is your item count. Next is your address of your manufacturer. So for that, you just create a pass is at message.sender. The current owner is your manufacturer now, right? And the item status. So here the item status should be as item status dot created, right? And next we have location. So here I'm passing location as Delhi, right? Right, this is done and it's showing error here. So item, yes, should be capital 1 because I'm directly using the enumerator, and for that we have, it should be capital, right? So this is how we have created the item. And just do one thing, one item is created and then you have to increment this item count as 1. It is 1 now. Yes, now this is done. Next function, ship item. So let's work on the ship item function. So here I pass 2 parameters. First one is your ID. So ID, I took this ID. Let's take it ID. And next one is your location. The location, I make this method as public. And that's all, right? So there are certain checks we need to do before we will execute the main functionality of this function. So first we check if this function should be called by the manufacturer, that is the current owner. So for that we require statement, right? And here we check if items, the ID is items, right? Items, and then we have a ID here, dot manufacturer, because we have a attribute there, should be equal to message dot sender, right? If it is equal, then it's fine. Otherwise, we'll declare error message that only manufacturer can ship item, like this. So this is done, right? Now before these manufacturer, FACOY, use this type. Kindly excuse me for this type of message. Manufacturer, I guess it is correct now. Right. Next you before shipping, before proceeding for shipping part, we first check whether that item is already created or not by the owner, right? So for that, we need to check the status of the item first, right? So for checking the status, I use the same syntax, use the mapping, and the first part of your mapping is your ID, and then second part is your status, item status, right? Should be equal to item. This should be capital now. Item status dot created. If it is true, then it's fine. Otherwise, we just display a message that item status must be created to ship. So these are two necessary checks we need in this function. Now, moving forward, for shipping, we just need to change the item status as shipped, and just change the location with the parameter value. These are the two functional things that we need to do in ship item, right? So just use same mapping items and pass the ID as this, and dot item status equal to item status dot shipped, like this, right? It is done. And similarly, do for the location part as well. Location should be underscore, that is your local parameter. Now it's done. So what we did, first we check who is calling that function. That should be the manufacturer, right? That is same as the owner now. And item status should be in the created, already in the created mode, then only you can ship it. Now, if you want to ship it, then just change the item status as shipped and change the location that you pass as a parameter here, right? Now it is done. This is done. And next we have deliver items. So here the things are pretty much same. That first we check the manufacturer, whether it's the who is calling that function. Second, we check for the shipped item, and then we just so just copy this function like this, right? And paste it here, and do this for deliver one. So for delivering, just use the same manufacturer.message.sender, and item status should be shipped here, right? Ship, right? Must be item stated, item, and here must be shipped to deliver. Just change few things for this deliver item, right? And just here change the status as after it's delivered. It's done, and location should be the one. Is done now, and both it's pretty much same, ship item and deliver item. We just changed few things right here and there. Next, last one is to get item status. So just declare this variable as function get item status. And here we pass only ID like this, right? And just make this function as public, because this function only gives you the information. We are not modifying any state variable, so it should be in view. We are just accessing them, and we returns the two things here. First one is item status, that what is the status of that item, and second one, we returns the name. So for that we need two things, and here instead of return should be returns. Yes, it is done now, right? And just start this function definition, right? So there is only a one statement in this because we are returning two things here. So items, same ID, right? Dot item status, right? First we return this, and then items ID dot name. So these are the two things I need to return whenever X. I can return more, like the location as well, and you can modify this function as per your requirement. I guess this code is done now. Let's compile it first. So it is done. Now deploy it. Now I'm gonna deploy it with this first. So just deploy it multiple times. So deploy this. So I've deployed this contract, and these are the different functions, right? So first we do it's to create an item. So I'm creating a item is for wheat. This is the material I want to supply. So I just create this item, right? This item is created. Now this item is created, and just check the item count is 1 now, and the address of the owner is this, right? And you can check the item as well, because you have created this item, the ID should be 0. So this is the wheat item is 0, manufacturer is this, same as the owner. Status is the location is Delhi, because at the starting we have passed the location as Delhi, right? Next what we want to we want to shift this item, right? So if you want to shift this item, just pass the ID as 0, and new location should be as Mumbai, right? Mumbai. So transact this, and now it is done, right? The item is shipped. Now you can just check the items. So this item status is 1 now. 1 means it is shipped now, and the rest of the things are same, and location is Mumbai now, right? Now I want to deliver this item to some other location to the customer. That is, the ID is 0 and location is Bandra, right? And just deliver this item. It is done now, and just check the item status. Item status is 2, it is delivered. Now the location is Bandra, right? Now use this get item status and write down the ID as 0. You can see the status of this item is delivered, and the name of this item is wheat. So that's all from my side for today's lectures. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.